Yes, in this video, we're talking about a 1969 Corvette you've probably never seen on the road. And no, this isn't some made-up story or a prototype that never made it past the drawing board. This was a real car, and a couple of lucky people actually got to own one. Step into the elevator, and I'll show you. This is the 1969 Corvette ZL-1. Only two were ever made, and today we're going to take a look at its history. This video is inspired by three articles about the ZL-1, one from Motor Trend, another from Sotheby's, and a third from Corvsport. You'll find the links in the Google Doc linked in the description. I highly recommend checking them out if you'd like to learn more. Now, let's jump right into the video. The 1969 Corvette ZL-1 isn't just another muscle car. It was an all-out engineering experiment, a race car disguised as a street machine, and one of the rarest Corvettes ever built. It's the kind of car that makes collectors lose sleep, and for good reason. Only two factory-documented ZL-1 Corvettes were ever produced, making it one of the most exclusive performance cars of its era. But getting it wasn't easy. This wasn't some car you could just walk into a Chevy dealership and pick out from the lot. It took connections, persistence, and maybe a little bit of luck. The ZL-1 didn't merely evolve from the legendary L88, it was intended to take its place. Chevrolet had already pushed the envelope with the L88, but the ZL-1 took things even further. The key to its performance was the all-aluminum 427 cubic inch V8, a significant departure from the traditional cast-iron big blocks of the era. This aluminum construction made the ZL-1 roughly 100 pounds lighter than the L88, giving it an improved power-to-weight ratio. But weight savings weren't the only advantage. The engine featured stouter connecting rods and open chamber heads that improved airflow and overall efficiency. Officially, Chevrolet rated the ZL-1 at 430 brake horsepower, the same as the L88, but in reality, it produced somewhere between 560 and 585 horsepower. This was a staggering number for the time, rivaling and even surpassing many dedicated race engines. However, owning a ZL-1 Corvette wasn't as simple as checking a box on an order form. The ZL-1 package was more than an engine upgrade, it was a complete performance overhaul. Because the standard Corvette chassis and braking system weren't designed to handle that kind of power, Chevrolet required a list of mandatory performance upgrades, including F41 special front and rear suspension, G81 positraction rear axle, J56 special heavy-duty brakes, and K66 transistorized ignition. One thing you couldn't order? Comfort options. No radio, no air conditioning, no power steering, and not even power windows. This was a car designed with one goal, being fast. And believe me when I say it was fast. Back in the day, magazines got their hands on one of the engineering prototype ZL-1s, and the results were ridiculous. It could go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 4 seconds and run the quarter mile in 12.1 seconds at 116 miles per hour. Popular hot rodding pushed it even further, clocking an 11-second quarter mile at 129 miles per hour. Keep in mind, this was 1969. Just to put that into perspective, a 2024 Ford Mustang GT convertible with the performance package, with all the advantages of modern technology and a 10-speed automatic transmission, does 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds and a quarter mile in 12.2 seconds, according to Motor Trend road tests. In 1969, a base Corvette coupe had a sticker price of $4,781. The ZL-1 option alone cost $4,718, making it nearly as expensive as the car itself. With the required performance upgrades, the total price soared to $10,048, more than double the price of a standard Corvette. At that price, very few customers were willing to take the plunge. When the dust settled, only two ZL-1 Corvettes were ever sold to the public. However, records from Chevrolet's Tonawanda engine plant show that 94 ZL-1 engines with Corvette prefixes were built in 1969. Of these, 80 were coded for manual transmissions, while 14 were built for automatics. The majority of these engines ended up in race cars, while a handful were sold over the counter to private buyers. There were also a few ZL-1-equipped Corvettes built for Chevrolet's engineering department, including one that was reportedly driven by Zora Arkus Duntov, the man often called the father of the Corvette. These engineering cars were used as test beds for driveline and suspension development, but their ultimate fate is unknown. Some believe the engines were removed, the cars were refitted with standard big blocks, and then quietly sold off, but without solid proof, it's more of a story than a confirmed fact. Where the original ZL-1 engines ended up remains a mystery. The ZL-1 Corvette's existence was directly tied to Chevrolet's involvement in Can-Am racing. In the late 1960s, Chevrolet's performance products chief, Vince Piggins, was pushing for a lightweight big block engine that could compete with the dominant Can-Am cars of the time. At first, Chevrolet hesitated, but when Bruce McLaren, whose McLaren race cars had been using Chevy small block engines, threatened to switch to Ford, General Motors took action. They approved the development of a big block aluminum V8, which became the ZL-1. The results were immediate. With the ZL-1 engine, McLaren dominated Can-Am from 1968 to 1971, winning 32 of the 37 races in that period. The engine's success on the track was undeniable, and while Chevrolet couldn't officially sell race cars to the public, they found a way to sneak the ZL-1 into the Corvette lineup. One of the two who managed to buy a factory-built ZL-1 was John Maher, and the Corvette you're seeing on screen right now is the very same one he owned. Maher wasn't just some lucky guy who stumbled upon a ZL-1. He was a serious racer, and he had friends in the right places, including Don Yenko and Grady Davis, a two-time Sports Car Club of America national champion and an executive at Gulf Research. Maher had already owned a 1968 L88 Corvette convertible, but when he heard about the ZL-1, he knew he had to have it. Problem was, Chevy wasn't exactly handing these things out. The ZL-1 was an International Automobile Federation and National Hot Rod Association homologation experiment, and they never really planned to sell them to regular customers. That's where connections came in handy. With Davis' help behind the scenes, Maher was able to get his order approved, a Monaco orange ZL-1 convertible with an M40 automatic transmission. The color choice wasn't random. It was a nod to Gulf Oil, a company deeply involved in motorsports, and a gesture of thanks for Davis' help. This tribute to his friend's employer didn't stop there. Maher later applied a Gulf Oil racing livery to the car, keeping the connection alive throughout his ownership. On December 30th, 1968, Maher walked into Harold Bremen's West Penn garage and officially became the owner of the first factory-documented ZL-1 Corvette ever built and the only convertible in existence. From the moment Maher got his hands on the ZL-1, it was clear that this car wasn't going to sit in a garage collecting dust. Within 24 hours of arriving at the dealership, it was already being prepped for racing. The first modifications? Free-breathing side pipes for better exhaust flow and a spare 411 rear end for quicker acceleration. Maher took it to the track and the car racked up wins. The ZL-1 earned the nickname Winning Automatically, thanks to its M40 automatic transmission, which made full-throttle launches a breeze. From hill climbs to drag strips to autocross events, this Corvette dominated western Pennsylvania's racing scene from 1969 to 1972. Unfortunately, the original engine didn't last forever. By September 1969, Maher had blown the short block assembly, but Chevrolet stepped in with a replacement under warranty. The ZL-1's time in the sun was short-lived. By 1970, stricter EPA regulations meant Chevrolet couldn't keep the ZL-1 in production. It was a one-year-only option, and just like that, it was gone. The 1969 Corvette ZL-1 remains one of the most mysterious, powerful, and expensive Corvettes ever built. John Maher's example was sold in 2023 for a staggering $3,140,000 at a Sotheby's auction. So, It's safe to say that the ZL-1 has become the holy grail of Corvettes for collectors and enthusiasts. Like I said at the beginning, the chances of seeing one of the two existing ZL-1 Corvettes on the road are pretty much zero. But let me ask you, were you one of the lucky few who ever spotted one? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this, feel free to subscribe and click on the recommended video that appears on the screen. It's all about the Ford Mustang Mach 1. I think you'll really like it. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.